Hello everyone, this is Infinum here. Today we're going to talk about Datacrons as the newest set has been released. And so we're going to take a look into which kind of stats and bonuses we should be trying to go for to maximize the use out of our Datacrons. There has been a lot of overall changes in this set that are going to be different compared to the other ones. So for example, Datacron sets will no longer last just 1 month, they're going to start to last 2 months. The Datacron farming period, so instead of now farming for just 1 month, you're not going to get twice the amount of materials because they last twice as long. They're going to be adjusted to 2 months, so the Datacron incoming farm you're going to have is going to be a bit slower as an adjustment. There is also no longer going to be 3 active sets, it's going to be 2. I believe this is going to be from October onwards or something similar. I believe that set 4 is still going to be coinciding with set 2 and set 3, so there's still going to be a little bit of overlap in regards to that. There have been some adjustments made to make you not have as many Datacrons sitting in the roster that are unused. So this is, for example, you have a lot of level 0 Datacrons if you farm a bunch of Sector 1 or something like that. I believe that they want to cut down on the amount of Datacrons you have, which can kind of suck because it means you have less chances to roll Datacrons. Sometimes you just have very awful rerolls and you want to reroll them again, and now you have less Datacrons to work with. One of the other big changes is that in Conquest you're going to farm or acquire materials, and in TW you are going to unlock the reroll materials. So the better you do in TW, the better the reroll mats you get. The better you do in Conquest, the more level 9s and level 6s and level 3s that you can have. So as far as the stats that you get on your Datacrons, these are the ones you have. So this has a very polemic one in the form of dodge. That one is being incredibly debated by the community as, you know, one of the most unfun mechanics that they could really bring into Datacrons, and they decided to bring this one. We haven't had speed yet, and when that day comes, holy, it's gonna suck. But dodge is here. Therefore, to combat dodge, you also have accuracy, and it's in the same rate as you have dodge, but do not notice that a lot of people will be focusing on dodge. And there's also crit avoidance and armor penetration here as well. Crit avoidance is actually going to be pretty interesting, as we'll be covering later on as well. So instead of going exactly through the bonuses, you can see those in the forum post. We're going to try to work through the most recommended builds that I look at this and see, okay, this looks really nice. I think this character would benefit most from this. So there's 6 featured characters for both the Smugglers and the Imperial factions. We have Lord Vader, Darth Vader, and TIE Fighter Pilot for representing the Empire units. And for the Smuggler faction, we have Dash Rendar, we have Veteran Smuggler Han, and the new Lando Calrissian Skiff Guard one. So for these recommendations, I'm going to leave out the TFP, Vet Han, and the new Lando because they're not common Relic 7s you're going to have in your roster. So if you have those guys at Relic 7, I don't have any builds ready for them here. But if you have them at Relic 7, you probably can make a build for them too, because you are pretty invested into the game, I'd say, to get those guys to R7. So with that being said, we move over to Lord Vader. And in level 3, we can see whenever dark side allies critically hit enemies more than 4 times during their turn, for example, Lord Vader does an AoE, they gain 5% critical damage stacking until the end of battle. This seems like the best level 3 to go for because the other level 3s kind of suck, and the extra crit damage means that we'll be doing a lot more damage. Now there's a lot of crit immunity built into the game as well, but like a lot of the other level 3s are just stacking crit chance or get accuracy up and the others get evasion down, which isn't horrible. We'll talk about that one later on, but like they don't feel as impactful as this one does. So I think this one is going to be the standard level 3 I'll be recommending. Then level 6, whenever Empire allies inflict a debuff, they reduce their cooldowns by 1. This is guaranteed. This is an improvement over what the current Lord Vader level 3 ability is, so there's nothing to, you know, lose from here other than the health seal and stat, but that's a different concern. And then the level 9, there's actually all level 9s for Lord Vader are pretty good. You have plus 5% max health and protection per relic level, extra ult charge, so whenever you're hit, instead of gaining 2% ult charge, you're gaining 8% ult charge because you get 6% faster. And then this level 9 one, which also seems really interesting. I don't know which of the ones is going to be better, but this one looks cool. Whenever an enemy is inflicted with dots or with damage over times, Lord Vader gains 4% mastery stacking until the end of battle, right? So each time he's taking a turn or an ally applies dots, it's going to be a lot of damage coming through Lord Vader, and therefore I think the stat combat to go for is going to be armor penetration, so he just hits as hard as possible, and Lord Vader is looking incredibly bonkers with this Datacron. Level 3 is going to be very similar as well. It's going to be extra critical damage. Level 6 is also going to be each time he applies a debuff, he also reduces his cooldowns, right? So his basic applies ability block, guaranteed to enemy Jedi and Rebels. He also applies a bunch of dots. He's going to reduce his cooldowns to get over to Merciless Massacre a little bit sooner. And then the level 9, there is an option between this percent health damage enemies receive is increased by 300%. So for example, instead of receiving 5% damage per dot, they're going to receive 20% damage per dot. That's going to be really good for the AoEs, and as well if you can get and some other dot characters into the team. And then there's the other one, which is to allow Darth Vader to revive himself and take a bonus turn. Now, I don't know what type of team you can make with Darth Vader that is not using EP, that is not using Lord Vader, that he kind of needs a revive, because that team is going to suck. It's going to need something. I think Darth Vader's Datacron is going to need him to be proactive. So I think one Datacron like this is probably going to be the best, and so having armor penetration, as he needs to be a good attacking team, is just going to be the most helpful way to let him do as much damage as he needs. Dash Rendar has one of the most fun Datacron sets is in here as well. So level 3, stacking crit damage. Level 6, he actually has two really interesting options. Whenever smuggler allies critically hit an enemy during their turn, that ally gains 10% stacking offense. And this is really good, right? So extra damage for Dash to deal with. And then whenever smuggler allies are revived, they gain protection over time for 2 turns and 25% EM and reduce their cooldowns by 1. So this is extremely synergistic with Vandor. If you're using your Dash team on offense and you have Vandor and you're trying to do those wacky combos where he's beating Galactic Legends, this seems like a really good level 6 to also have. Where the stacking offense enters the Dash radar really well is with this level 9 Datacron. Whenever an enemy takes a turn, Dash Rendar takes a bonus turn. And during this bonus turn, Dash Rendar deals 100% more damage. So the enemy's taking a bunch of turns, well, Dash just critically hits the enemy during his turn and gets more stacking offense and keeps the stacking offense for 2 turns. The level 3 that allows him to get a bunch of critical hits more than 4 times during their turn will allow him to ramp his crit damage quite a bit. I'd be really surprised if this Datacron build is not good. But there's also another one where he can get more stacking offense. There's another one that synergizes with evasion. I don't know how good that is going to be. I guess if you have like a lot of stats that are going to be evasion based, then having the evasion build for Dash could be something interesting to look into. But this one seems like a generically good build to go for. That's the level 9's kind of out of the way. Again, I'm not doing TFP, the new Lando, nor am I doing Vet Han, but we can start looking into the level 6s and see which teams benefit from this. So first and foremost, you have Starkiller. Here I have him under an Empire Shell, so it's going to be with EP Mari, right? Who he usually is with. And again, level 3, not thinking a whole lot about it. More crit damage, because Starkiller doing more damage is nice, right? So that's going to be good. And then it does say, whenever Empire allies inflict a debuff, they reduce their cooldowns by 1. This is really good with Mara, right? Mara is just gonna go wild. It synergizes super well with EP's turn meter train. It's just going to be great. And then as far as stats goes, I recommend armor penetration, but also critical avoidance, because critical avoidance can make certain counters that rely on critting Starkiller a little bit more complicated. There's a couple of those out there. Think that if you can kind of stop those critical hits, it's going to make the Starkiller team last a little bit longer. I would also mention that having critical avoidance is really good to combat this level 3 critical damage stacking. So Iden is actually, well, level 3. Woo. Very creative. Level 6. Well, let's talk about this one. This one actually looks really cool. So this is Grit that we're going for. And the thing about Grit that is interesting with Iden is that Iden has a move that applies protection up when she uses her revive ability, right? And range also has protection up. So if you actually combine Iden and range and you put a lot of protection up, then they're going to have a difficult health pool to hit through. So I think this is actually going to work out really great for the Iden team. There's some arguments to go for the cooldown reductions and that type of stuff, but I do like the idea of Grit on Iden quite a lot. And again, a little bit like Starkiller, I think armor penetration is preferred so it can deal more damage, but critical avoidance is going to be great. Also, another counter that's very popular against Iden is Wampa, who applies a bunch of dots. would be incredibly relevant for Iden to not care about that, because Grit takes reduced damage from percentage health damage effects. A little bit like Malik's unique, a little bit like Crew's unique, where they just don't die to courage, right? Veers, level 3. Same thing again, kudos to originality. Level 6, a little bit different. So, whenever allies target another ally with an ability, they both gain 5% defense, max health, max protection, and offense until the end of battle. The only thing that I really care about here is Piet marking Dark Trooper and increasing his offense by 5%. That seems kinda decent to have around, so that's why I went with that level 6 ability. 5% doesn't feel like a great payoff, but it's what we have. And then there's the other one. So whenever debuff on an enemy expires, allies gain 2% turn meter, double if that debuff was dispelled. You apply debuffs with your Imperial Trooper team. You have like Stark putting defense down. You have some other debuffs being applied by the team, Piette, something like that. When you kill an unit, you usually gain a lot of turn meter to your squad, right? But this will allow you to gain even more turn meter to your team. So it helps them do something they're already good at, so it tailors to their strengths. And if for whatever reason an enemy takes a turn and uses a cleanse, at least your trooper team kinda gains some turn meter to fight around in a bit where the battle is not completely lost. There was another level 6 that allows them to reduce cooldowns, gain 10% turn meter whenever an ally falls below 50% health. But like, if your trooper team has one dude going below 50% health, you very likely lost the battle anyways. So this one feels like a catch-up mechanic where you didn't completely lose the battle yet. And then, last but not least, we also have the Inquisitors, also representing the Empire status. We also have, not the Empire faction. We also have here the same level 3, and I also wanted to include one of, not the best ones, but I would also like to include that whenever allies inflict a debuff, they gain 2% critical chance for 3 turns. So the Inquisitors apply a lot of debuffs between Purge and Offense Down and ability blocks. There's a bunch of debuffs, right? The only scenario where I see this being useful is that you can kind of cut out on any critical chance you need to give over to Second Sister, so she gets a really nice guaranteed critical damage hit going on. That's just kind of the scenario where I can envision this level 3 being somewhat decent, and if you roll this and you're going to work on your Inquisitors, maybe not terrible. And then the level 6, incredibly creative, but whenever Empire allies inflict a debuff, they reduce their cooldowns by 1. They're always applying debuffs, right? Whether it's via Purge, other specials, they're always reducing their cooldowns with this. It seems very worthwhile to have. And I think as far as stats goes, depending on the variety of counters you're going for, they can actually kind of benefit from all of them. I mean, all teams can, but the Inquisitors in particular, like, they don't armor penetration, they don't do a whole lot of damage except for the couple of big hits. A couple of dodge accuracy, crit avoidance won't hurt them either, really, I think. But I do feel like the extra damage is preferred as per like any other team in here. And that leaves me to the conclusions. To wrap it up, rolling crit avoidance stats is actually not going to be the worst thing out there, because there's going to be a lot of level 3 with the stacking critical damage, or at least some people re-rolling to get that bonus. So I think having the critical avoidance will help combat that level 3. We also have a lot of people that will be re-rolling to get those dodge percentage Datacrons in their teams. So having a couple of level 3s that have the accuracy up to your units and evasion down to theirs might help combat a little bit what is going on in regards to the dodge meta. You can see that accuracy up will give you plus 15% accuracy, evasion down will remove 25% of their dodge chance, so it's like it gives you a base plus 40% accuracy, which isn't a lot, but it's something to work with, because you might also have some accuracy from your own Datacron. So this can kind of help you out. And then if you are in the top 200 or in the top 15 guilds, so you're playing at a very high level, focusing on accuracy percentage stats is not going to be something problematic for you, because your opponents are going to have a lot of dodge percentage Datacrons, so that's also something to keep in mind. And that will wrap it up for set 4. If you have any suggestions on any different builds that you do or something like that, we always can keep improving them, because these were just my first thoughts from looking at the set. There's no meta reports, we don't know exactly how these are going to work out, but it can be, you know, good to start working on the ideas on what's going to be decent and what is not. So thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed watching until this far, you can always leave a like and subscribe, because it does help out the channel. So thank you so much, and see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.